What's up, strangers? Welcome to the Wealth Game Nation. My name is Vedo and I'm here to help you better understand the wealth game and become part of the Wealth Game Nation. In today's video, I will talk about the recession that we all currently find ourselves in. I will go over all the different factors that will impact the world in 2023, then put the pieces all together and make an educated guess on where the economy and the stock market will be a year from today. I am excited, so let's get right into it. On today's agenda, we will talk about different factors that will impact the world in 2023. Then we will put the pieces together. Then we will talk about the recession in 2023 and make an educated guess where the stock market and the economy will be a year from today. Then, as usual, I will share with you my thoughts and tell you what my plan is for 2023. Let's quickly go over the different factors that will impact the world in 2023. First, we have the gross domestic product, or the GDP. For those of you who maybe do not know what the GDP is, this is essentially all the goods and services that a nation produces. Then we have the consumer price index, or the CPI. This index is used to measure inflation. Then we have the stock market, the bond yields, the housing market, interest rates, money supply or monetary policy, the job market, and last but not least, the ongoing war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. If we look at this graph, we can see the last 95 years of data, how the stock market and recession correlate. The gray bars are the recessions, and the blue line is the stock market. As you can see from this graph, recession is usually accompanied by a drop in the stock market. And let's use the wisdom of Mark Twain in his quote here: "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes," which suggests that the things that have happened in the past will most likely happen similarly in the future. Now, let's put the pieces together. We will look at a factor and how it impacted the year 2022. The GDP has been negative in the first 2 quarters of the year. The third quarter was slightly positive. If we look at the graph to the right, this is exactly what this represents. Next, we have the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, which, as you said, measures inflation. Inflation has peaked in July of 2022 with 9.1%. As we can see in the graph, inflation has been going steadily up all the way until mid of 2022 and then steadily down ever since. When we talk about the stock market, we know S&P 500 is down by 20% this year. The Nasdaq 100 is down even more with 32%. Bond yields are currently all around 4%. If we look at the graph to the right, we can see the yields on all treasury yields. Next, housing market has been going down steadily. The interest rates in 2022 have gone up all the way to 4.25 to 4.5%. If we look at the graph below the table, we can see that since 2008, when the housing crash happened, the interest rates have been virtually zero. Then, around 2016, the interest rate started going up because the Fed saw an increase in inflation and wanted to combat the inflation with higher interest rates. However, then 2020 happened, COVID hit, we all know what happened then. The Fed has again lowered rates to zero, same as European Central Bank or the ECB, and started printing money in order to help the economy, because the world literally shut down. Then in 2022, the Fed and the ECB started raising rates again, aggressively, as you can see from the graph here, and this is where we are currently at. Monetary policy, we have currently quantitative tightening. This is when the Fed sells off all his assets and basically removes money from circulation. Next is the job market. The job market is currently at 3.7%, which is a relatively strong job market. However, there has been a massive tech layoff in 2022. Last but not least, the war in Ukraine has peaked. Now, let's talk about the recession in 2023. We will now look at all the factors and try to deduce what is the most likely scenario for those factors to play out in 2023 based on the information that we have so far. Given the high interest rates and the layoffs, I believe that the most likely scenario that the first half of 2023 will be negative when it comes to the GDP. Then it is very likely to be positive in the second half of 2023. The CPI, as you know, has peaked in July of 2022 and has been going down steadily. I believe this will put us at 3 to 4% by the end of the year of 2023. The stock market, I believe, is also going to keep going down because it has been going down in 2022. And given the factors that I already mentioned, I think it is very likely that the S&P 500 will go down by 10% and Nasdaq even by 20%. Next up is bond yields. I believe that the bond yields will be lower than 4% by the end of the year. This is because I believe that the second half of 2023 will be better than the last year and a half. I believe the housing market is going to keep going down, however, not at such a fast pace. I believe the interest rates will be at over 5%. Reason for this is simply because the Fed said that they are targeting 5.1%. Then monetary policy, we will continue with the quantitative tightening, basically removing money from the circulation in order to combat inflation. And the job market, I believe, is going to be over 4.5%, which is, again, something that Fed has said in the past that this is what they are targeting. Last but not least, the war in Ukraine will slow down even further. However, this will not be resolved, and I believe this conflict will go on for a long time. Now, let's look at this simple graph below. This graph shows us the economic cycle. I wish I knew this 15 years ago. This graph shows us that there are phases to the economic cycle. Specifically, we have two phases where recovery and expansion, where everything that is positive for us goes up. Then we have the latter two stages, the slowdown and recession, where everything that we find positive goes down. So, for example, during recovery and expansion, the GDP is rising, the stock market is going up, the bond yields are going down because they're negatively correlated to the stock market, the housing market is going up, the interest rates are going down. With interest rates going down, there's also quantitative easing where money gets printed, and the job market is very strong. However, through all of this positivity, inflation starts rising. When the inflation rises to a certain point, then the Fed and the monetary policy needs to change in order to slow down the economy and most likely artificially produce a recession. So in the latter two stages, everything that I just described as positive, the GDP starts going down, the stock market starts going down, the bond yield starts going up. As we said, they are inversely correlated. The housing market starts going down, the interest rate starts going up, monetary policy changes to quantitative tightening again, and we have higher unemployment rate. All this is being done in order to combat inflation. When the inflation is at 2%, which is the target rate of inflation for the Fed, then we come back to recovery and the cycle starts all over again. Now, let me tell you about my plan in 2023. Right now, the phase in the cycle has been identified. We find ourselves in a recession. As a rule for myself, during slowdown and recession, I do more dollar cost averaging and less cash hoarding into a war chest. Basically, I deploy all the excess cash I have into the stock market. However, since I don't know exactly where are we in the current phase of the recession, and my belief is that we still didn't hit bottom, I will continue to dollar cost average in the first half of 2022, but at a lower pace. I will still be building a bigger cash reserve in the first half of 2023. Then, as we come in the second half of 2023, I will increase my deployment of my excess cash into my investments and dollar cost average at a higher pace. When I think about the future, I want to ride the wave and don't be under it. Basically, what this means for me, that during recovery and expansion, I will less dollar cost average and do more cash hoarding into a war chest. I totally understand that this is opposite of what everybody else is saying and that everybody else is doing. However, I think this is the right approach because it is enough to let your investments grow during the recovery and expansion and collect your excess cash. And once the slowdown and recession come around, you are ready to deploy all that excess cash. Lastly, I did not come up with this strategy. This is something that I have identified when looking at what Warren Buffett has been doing. Warren Buffett has never said this way. However, if we look at his actions since the bull market has started in 2010, all the way to 2022, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have underperformed the stock market. That's when a lot of new investors started accusing him that he no longer understands the world of investing. During all this time, Warren Buffett has hoarded so much cash that it was the biggest cash reserve they have ever had. This was around $160 billion and equivalent to over 30% of their portfolio. He never explained why he did it. The only thing he said, currently there's nothing in the market for the price that they are willing to pay. Then in 2022, the headlines in the media were Warren Buffett is going on a shopping spree, where in Q1 2022, he has deployed $45 billion out of his $160 billion cash reserves into the stock market. I think there's a great lesson in Warren Buffett's actions over the last 10 to 12 years. And even though he did not take the time to spell it out for us, I think we are smart enough and we can deduce for ourselves. So that's it. If you find value in this video, I kindly ask you to like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. This helps me a lot when you guys do it and it does not cost you anything. No need to smash any button, gently clicking will do the trick. And now, you tell me, what do you think about the current economic situation? What do you think, where will we be in a year from today? Give me a feedback, I would love to hear from you. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.